Welcome to another Dove Valley Deep Diver special. Joining me again is the one and only Lance Sanderson. Now, Lance, this is, I don't want to say breaking news or anything like that because it did happen a few hours prior to us recording this, but Taylor Decker, the left tackle for the Detroit Lions, got a pretty sizable deal. $20 million on an average per year basis, 3 years, $60 million total. And for a while now, you and I on Friday nights, when we go live on Dove Valley Deep Divers, we've talked about, the need or the desire to see Garett Bolles extended. So we're going to be talking about, obviously, if those of you watching put two and two together, should the Broncos give Garett Bolles a new contract? And should the basis of this contract be what Taylor Decker got? It's pretty interesting, especially when you look at some of the numbers, and we're going to be doing that. We're going to be looking into some of the contracts as well as some of the statistics for you. But first of all, let's get into some of the contract stuff. 3 years, $20 million would be the seventh highest, if my count is correct. Yeah, seventh highest average per year for a left tackle in the NFL. Obviously, that would drop a little bit when you add in right tackles, but it would be tied, including right tackles in here, it would be tied for the eighth highest average per year salary with Lane Johnson and Jawan Taylor. So it's a pretty sizable contract. And Taylor Decker, if I remember correctly, is the same age as Garett Bolles, if not a year older. They're right around the same age. Experience is a little bit different because Garett Bolles had come into the NFL, I believe, 2 years later at a bit older due to serving a mission and stuff like that. But Garett Bolles is currently, he's at 17 million on average per year basis on his contract here, which obviously 3 million less on an average per year than what Taylor Decker's getting. Is this, my first question to you, is this contract, if the Broncos were to give Garett Bolles a contract, given an extension, is this Taylor Decker contract the baseline that you would go with for Garett Bolles?
Oh man, it's really difficult. You said they're relatively close to the same age. Garett Bolles is 32 years old, jumped in the NFL as a 25-year-old rookie back in 2017. Taylor Decker is 30 years old, so there's an age factor you have in this as it stands currently right now. But if you look at Garett Bolles, this is per Pro Football Focus. Garett Bolles as a pass protector. Let me pull my numbers back up here. He was, in terms of efficiency, pressure rating allowed, 95.4%, number 4 in the NFL last season. Taylor Decker doesn't even follow on this list until number 20. This is just tackles alone, period. Taylor Decker gave up more sacks, more pressures, more hurries, and a higher pressure rate than Garett Bolles. And Garett Bolles, in all of those statistical categories, was within the top 7 of all NFL tackles that played at least, what's the number I have here? 649 pass blocking snaps last year, and 424 run blocking snaps. Garett Bolles ranked 20th overall. Taylor Decker was much better in terms of running, but in terms of what is the premium position at the NFL level in terms of offensive line play, Garett Bolles is a top 7 player. I've said this, he's a top 10 player at least in terms of being a pass protecting left tackle at the NFL level. I've said this for multiple years now. I've been one of Garett Bolles' biggest defenders in Broncos country. And yes, I do believe if you look at what the Lions gave Taylor Decker, maybe not 3 years, give him 2 years, the first year guaranteed at $20 million, I think the Broncos should absolutely do that.
Yeah, I think that when you get into it, this is, especially with how the tackle market is changing, with these guys now pushing 28 million, 26 million. Penei Sewell, talking about the Lions here, just signed an extension for 28 million on average per year basis. The Vikings just signed their starting left tackle Christian Darrisaw to a new deal where he was averaging 26 million. Laramie Tunsil in Houston, he's at 25 million. And when Garett Bolles signed his deal, he wasn't really resetting the market. So obviously we're not looking at 22 million plus. We're looking a little bit below that. I do think that this is a fair starting point for Garett Bolles. I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of pushes, 21 million a little bit. And I do think that part of it, I'm going to go opposite of what you said. I do think 3 years would need to be the minimum, because as good as he has been getting ready to play out this year on an unguaranteed base salary, in the final year of his contract with no real complaints that I've seen or heard, That's great for him. Give him a little bit more security here. Give him the 3 years, guarantee the first year, give him some guarantees into year 2, and then year 3 could be more of a team option kind of situation. Not a whole lot of guaranteed money, but maybe some of it guarantees at a certain point of the new around the new league year, like on the new league year or 5 days after the new league year, whatever it may be, prior to that season, giving them some time to reevaluate, maybe rework it, the contract a little bit. Gives them options, getting 2 years, because also in that 2-year span, you can go out and draft a tackle that they haven't done since Garett Bolles,
Literally,
and start developing somebody to be your franchise left tackle to replace Garett Bolles, which they haven't done. I mean, you look at the tackle position, they have a bunch of guys that are undrafted free agents, basically, in DeMontre Jacobs, Frank Crum, and Alex Pawczewski, that you want to develop and try to be maybe be a starter, most likely be a backup guy. You have Matt Pert, a failed, I believe, 3rd round pick by the New York Giants, that isn't great when he sees the field. Get somebody who can, but in the meantime, you want stability at the position, and Garett Bolles can give you that stability. That, to me, especially when you look at his stats that you were highlighting, that is reason enough to sit there and be like, here's 3 years, $60 million with however much guaranteed that you want to give. And that's your starting point. And that, for me, that's that. Now getting to it with his age, I was a little bit mistaken earlier. I thought they were a little bit closer in age. I thought there was only a year difference, not 2 years. But Garett Bolles, to me, entering the NFL and the way tackles play well late into their careers, they don't have that early drop-off point like you do at some of the other positions. That is another reason why I'm fine with 3 years. The run blocking, though, that is one area where I can see the Broncos being a little bit hesitant. While I do think that he is better than what Pro Football Focus grades him out as, that is still a area of inconsistency with him. And this team under Sean Payton seems like a team that wants to run the ball more than they have.
I guess my big question here, Eric, is what does the scheme do to accentuate Garett Bolles in terms of actually utilizing the athleticism, getting him out where he can get out in open space and just be kind of a heat-seeking missile? Because if you put him in an outside zone scheme as compared to this power duo scheme that the Broncos are currently running under Sean Payton, where that's not his big strong suit, being a bully in a phone booth. Yeah, he has the demeanor for it. He has the attitude to it. But if you're running duo and just trying to make him be that frontline blocker rather than getting him out in space where he can utilize that athleticism, how much does that detract from his value as a run blocker? Because you've seen him at the NFL level. Yeah, it was a couple of years ago before he broke his fibula. I believe that was the first year under Nathaniel Hackett. He was a dominant run blocker at the NFL as well. Does the age and the injury concern there, plus the scheme, kind of lead to a little bit of that poor grading from Pro Football Focus, or do you think that a little bit of that age factor is starting to hit him right now at 32 years old?
I don't think it's an age factor. I do think scheme is important there a little bit. I also am very outspoken, and I won't get into a lot of it, with my issues with Pro Football Focus's grading template. So I think a lot of that all goes into it. And as I said, I still would use that deal that Taylor Decker got as a starting point for Garett Bolles because of the stability that he brings. And this is a team that is in a financial position after this year to do that, to be able to be like, okay, we want you around for a couple more years. I mean, they have Quinn Miners this year and next year on low salary cap hits with how they structured his contract. Patrick Surtain is probably going to be looking at a deal sometime after the season. I think probably closer to next year's training camp in June or July that we'll get a deal done with Patrick Surtain, right before he starts the season on the 5th-year option, which is a significant jump to like $19.8 million. But the Broncos are in a good cap position. They can still work and create more salary cap room with some restructures and some, departures, some cuts and everything like that. So they have options for it, but you can't weaken yourself at a position of such importance as tackle is, only to go with somebody that's untested, unless they manage to get like a top 10, 15 pick and select one of the top tackles in this class who can come in and be a starter right away. That's the only thing that will be like, okay, maybe don't extend Garett Bolles, but you don't know that's going to happen. And they're not betting on that happening. They're wanting to push for the playoffs. So extend the guy.
Yep.
And then if that happens, you can let that tackle compete. Maybe that tackle can start over at right tackle. And for Mike McGlinchey, if he struggles and you either move on or you want to move Mike McGlinchey to the bench, and then you have more options going that route anyways, than just letting Garett Bolles walk in free agency and betting on a compensatory pick that might be a 4th or 5th round. I doubt he'll get a contract big enough to get into that 3rd round talk with how the compensatory pick formula goes. So just do it. Like, just go get it done. He's been a key point or a key part of this offense, despite all the issues for it. And I know a lot of people out there holding against him and penalties against him. Well, Taylor Decker, 8 penalties thrown or 8 flags thrown on his play. Garett Bolles, also 8 flags thrown on his play this last season.
Yeah, my last point before we get out of here on this DVDD special here is you kind of touched on it a little bit with the Broncos not drafting a tackle since Garett Bolles in 2017. They need to address the position dramatically. Why not double down? When you have the opportunity to double down on a player that you have designated as a franchise left tackle, a player that has been a top 10 player at the position, top 12 at least at the position for the last 5 years now, you can extend him, keep him around, let him retire a Denver Bronco. You're not now hamstrung in your already weakened draft capital state through the Russell Wilson trade, through the Sean Payton trade. You have more options. You don't have to focus on drafting a tackle. You can get a developmental guy like, for example, Kingsley Suamataia from this last offseason from BYU. There's opportunities for guys that you can develop behind a Garett Bolles. You don't have to immediately move on from Bolles, focus in on the NFL draft to go draft that left tackle of the future. You have some options here. This is a need. The Broncos need to get this done. Absolutely 100%.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if this contract, kind of creates some movement on that front between the Broncos and Garett Bolles' representation. And we do end up seeing something happen in the coming weeks. Definitely something to keep an eye on, especially as the season gets close. But that's going to do it for us today. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching. As always, make sure you guys leave a like. If you guys aren't subscribed, make sure you're subscribed. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And I can look back and, if we see any, we'll answer them right then and there. Or maybe if it's a good enough question, maybe we'll do a whole video on it. That'll be, up in the air, but always best to give yourself a chance and come up with a good creative question. Thank you guys for watching. Again, have a wonderful night and stay safe, have fun, or even wonderful day. All depends on what time you're watching this. Thank you guys for watching.